I think a hero is anyone who uses any amount of what they have, your time, treasure, or talent, to make somebody else's life better, even a little bit. And a kid on a paper route can do that. A kid on a paper route can be a hero. We, as actors, with the platform and the privilege that we've been given, we can be heroic in people's lives. We get to, that's a choice that you get to make. You get to say, okay, I've been given these blessings. I mean, you know, not to circle back to comics, but I do think I think there's so many profound things in comics, which is why so many of us find them and we rejoice in them and we find connected to them. But like in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, which sounds very biblical because probably it is in some respect, but replace with great power, you know, with great blessing, with great amounts of time or treasure or talent comes great responsibility. And I think more than responsibility, I think opportunity. I think with great blessing comes great blessing. With great blessing comes the ability to go and bless. What a fucking cool thing that is. If only we were to recognize that that is the way that it works. But I think unfortunately a lot of us are very broken inside. And so when the blessing and when the power and when those things come to us, we're so bereft of our own worth or our own, you know, we don't love each other, ourselves, and we don't even know it. And so we need it to fill this endless hole that will never be filled because we have not recognized that that's not where any of the worth lay anyway, right? So, but when you can get there, and to be perfectly honest, I didn't love myself until 6 years ago anyway, but I still knew that those things weren't going to ultimately make me worthy of anything. I didn't. Subconsciously, I guess I didn't know what the heck ever was going to make me worthy of anything. Maybe if I did enough good in the world, maybe that's what it was going to be. If I could somehow help enough people or love enough people, then I'd be worthy of being loved. I know that's not true. But regardless, that's your responsibility, I think. If only the most powerful, wealthy people in the world could see that none of that is ultimately, they can't take it with them. You don't see it, right? I love the quote, you never see a U-Haul in the back of a hearse. Like, you can't take it with you. So what the fuck are you doing other than just try to make other people's lives better right now?
Oh, I'm gonna give him a hug. Sorry, excuse me. I really appreciate that. I like when you get out. Would that butt make it in the superhero world?
That butt?
Yeah.
I mean, it's no Chris Evans, but yeah.
Thank you. I always say, like, to me, like altruism, big word for me. But it's when the cameras aren't rolling. Because you see cameras rolling and they're like, hey, I'm here with this kid and I'm a nice guy and see how great I am. But it's when the cameras aren't rolling. And you're doing things without people knowing. You're doing it because you want to do it. When you get to that place where you don't need to be validated for your actions, when you can just do, that to me is, I think that's fulfillment for me. I feel purpose when I do that. Now, see, we're getting a little serious. I like it. This is kind of the show, but I know that you briefed on that. Can I say that? You briefed?
I have no idea what you're about to ask, so sure.
Can I say, you forget it. No, I'm going to say, like 6 years ago, you said you didn't love yourself and you're still learning to love yourself.
Oh, I touched on that.
But I know that you were like at the darkest someone could be. Yeah. You really didn't want to live anymore, is that right?
That is correct.
And I didn't know how desperate you were. I had no idea. It was shocking to me.
I mean, most people didn't. Most people had no idea.
Were you someone that didn't really, did you tell your friends that something's off because a lot of times it's too late. No one, feels, they don't really believe or know how dark someone is until it's too late.
Well, yeah, I would say most of the time people don't know, most of the time you don't know what's going on in the lives of the people around you, fully, right? I mean, depending on how close you are with whoever, pick the person or the scenario, but I mean, listen, I have really dear friends. I don't know what the state of their heart all the time, and part of that is how much we ask them, but a lot of that has everything to do with how much they're willing to really show and share. And we don't often want to share too much because we don't want to burden. We all feel, my whole life I felt like I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be an imposition on somebody else. I still feel that way now, oftentimes. And listen, I think there's some healthy version. Like narcissists go bumping around in life. They don't give a fuck if they're being an imposition on people. They don't care if they're being a burden on anyone. They want to be. But also, FYI, for what it's worth, narcissists are deeply broken, insecure human beings. Just understand that. They're the most destructive and toxic people, but they are still deserving of tons and tons of grace and empathy. We just have to recognize you have to have very real boundaries around people who don't understand them at all, right? But I think that, wait, what was the question?
Well, it's like you keep
right. So, no, listen. I've always wanted to bring joy and love into the world. So the last thing I want to do is be telling anybody about these issues that I'm dealing with. And occasionally I would talk to people, but I didn't know how to really tell. Like, I moved out to Austin with this head full of steam and dreams of like changing the world and building this whole community and all these things. And that didn't feel like it was materializing. I didn't feel like anybody believed in me and the whole dream that I had. And little did I know that I was super unhappy, deeply, deeply unhappy. I didn't realize how unhappy I was. But also I didn't even realize, I couldn't even really define what happiness or joy or really even love was on a very, very deep level. I certainly didn't understand what self-love was. So talking to people can be a very difficult thing in all of that. Now, 6 years on, and I write about a lot of this in the book, but I've learned a lot of things about why I fell into that dark hole. Part of that was because I was deeply unhappy. A lot of that had to do with the fact that I was not loving myself. I didn't understand what self-love was. And my self-worth was constantly being triggered and challenged with every turn because the things that I didn't learn, or rather the bad things that I learned from my parenting, which is, by the way, one of the biggest things you learn is how you talk to yourself, just in case you didn't know that. If you've ever wondered why you chide yourself or you don't, you're like, I would do something stupid or whatever. I would in my mind, I'm thinking, you fucking idiot. And like, why would you do that? Just so harsh. And it wasn't until I went to Privé Suisse and I was talking to a therapist there, and they said, would you ever talk that way to anybody that you love? And I was like, of course not. I would never say these things in this way. And they go, then why are you doing that to yourself? I'm like, oh my gosh, light bulb moment, right? But that was a part of it. My dopamine levels were totally out of whack. I'd been on an Adderall prescription prior to that. I stopped taking, I thought, oh, this will be great. I'm gonna move to Austin. I'm gonna put down my Adderall prescription. I'm gonna quit smoking after 20 years of being 12 years of being a pack-a-day smoker. I was like, I'm gonna put this down cold turkey. I had no idea that my dopamine levels are gonna drop through the floor. And I was going to be living in this darkness. By the way, just really quickly, I think I've talked about this on your podcast, but there was a study done. In case you should really, if you don't listen, another great podcast is called Huberman Lab. If you don't listen to it already, I highly recommend you do. It's all about like our bodies and how they work and everything. And you should really understand how dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, and all these things, they're very, very, very important to your physical well-being, but also your mental and emotional well-being. Dopamine is a huge part of that. Just really quickly, they did a study. They took a rat. The only thing they changed on this rat was they turned off its ability to create dopamine. Now, dopamine is kind of like your reward encouragement drug that happens. When you go on like a run, the runner's high you get, that's dopamine. If you go and work out in the gym and that high you get, that's dopamine. These are good things. These are things that, what? No, never. You don't feel any of that, right? No, we understand. This is why you were so insecure about the bodies and the superheroes. We get it. So, but the point is, it's very important because it helps us to propel through our days. That's why if you've ever heard people say, hey, at the beginning of the day, make your bed, it's not so that you don't look like you have a sloppy room, although why not have a little more cleanly of a room and be proud of that? It's because it's where your dopamine starts. If you just do a little task, a little achievement, you get a little hit of dopamine. That's why people get addicted to video games, because every little upgrade, every little thing you unlock, every level, everything, you get a little dopamine, a little dopamine, a little dopamine, and we get addicted to this. But they turn this experiment, they turn this rat's ability the only thing they changed, turn off its ability to make dopamine. They put it in a cage and they put a bowl full of food right next to the rat, And the rat starved to death. It starved to death. It was hungry, obviously. Its body was saying, eat, eat. It was eating itself inside. It had no idea. And it wouldn't get up to go get the food that it needed to survive right next to it. That's how important our biochemistry is. Don't forget that. So I encourage you all to go and take a look at that kind of stuff. But no, it's very difficult to go talk to people about the darkness that you're in, because the darkness is lying to you. It's a lie. It says that you are alone in your darkness. Actually, I love doing this at conventions. If you've ever been to a convention and run on panels like this, just really quickly. First and foremost, actually, turn to the person next to you and say, I'm so glad you're alive and I'm so glad you're here right now.
Do it. Fucking do it.
Do it right now.
Do it. Mean it. Don't just do it to laugh. You in the front row. Do it.
All right, Jesus, take it easy.
Sorry.
Okay.